Welcome back to Misfit Library. Today we are going to be covering a book that I'm very excited about and very glad to show you guys. This book today is Heroes Die. So when you look at this cover, I'm going to show it to you on the side screen. Heroes Die. It's written by Matthew Woodring Stover, and when you look at it, I mean, this book is just the definition of your classic, 80s, 90s high fantasy novel. You got a guy. I mean, what is the armor covering? Full chest exposed, double daggers, slightly perturbed, you know, I mean, just basic, basic background. I mean, you would think that this book has, not a lot going for it. The cover doesn't look great, but I'm telling you right now, the story inside is very intriguing, and I could see someone coming and visiting this genre in the future, and I think people have. So, this book is Heroes Die by Matthew Woodring Stover. It was published in 1998, and it is a masterclass in blending genres. It is I would say it's a obscure, like, hidden gem. And it's basically, it goes into the genre of, like, video, like, transmitting, like, a video game to an audience, like, fantasy video game. Think Ready Player One, great book. Books like that. So for this book, you're gonna have to understand two things: the two worlds that are Heroes Die. So in this world, there's two worlds. There's Earth, but not like our Earth. It's like the 22nd century. Basically, the world itself is in like a caste system. So think like the Indian caste system. You got your servants, your outcasts, and then your highest caste. Um, and they're all run. It's all run by like basically massive corporations, um, like dystopian type. I think of like Ready Player One as a good reference, like kind of like that. Um, so basically, the lower caste, life sucks. It's terrible. You're cramped and you're miserable. So what does, like, these corporations, they have to keep the masses satisfied, or they don't want like anything bad to happen. They don't want them to riot or anything. So how do they pacify them? So eventually this thing, or this like corporation, they call it the studio, found like a parallel dimension, and they call it the overworld. So you have Earth, the overworld. The overworld is your classic high fantasy setting: elves, magic, demons, all that kind of stuff. And so basically what happens is this corporation, it's called the studio, sends players, or they call them actors in the series, actors through the portal to the overworld, and they go and do quests. But here's the cool thing, or like the unique twist on this: the actors in this case are wired with like these transmitters. Like basically, think like they can live stream 24/7. Everything they see, smell, feel, any pain they feel, anything is directly broadcast back to all the people that like watch it, or like they're like transmitting into their mind. They can experience this thing through these actors. So it's like a really like weird like YouTube type thing going on, but you're also like experiencing it. So it's basically like it's like a really like fantasy like reality TV, and basically the whole story is about these executives who know a lot about like what their consumers want. They want high stakes, they want drama, and they want a lot of violence. Like something they wouldn't be able to have down there, but they can experience in real life. And but the twist as always is if the actor dies in the overworld, they die in the real world. Um, so the pain is real, the blood is real, and basically this corporation is monetizing the life and death of these actors. So then we get into our main character. So our main character for the story is, his name in the Earth is Harry Mickelson. On Earth, he's an A-list celebrity. He's rich. He's popular. I mean, think about like like a reality TV actor who's like the most popular. He's gonna be rich. I mean, A-list actor. And he belongs to the highest caste. But so his character in Overworld, they could call him Kane. In Overworld, Kane is an assassin. He's just absolutely brutal. He's very smart. He specializes in close quarter combat. As you can see, he has two knives in the picture. And he's the most popular and most famous actor out of the studio. Uh, and he's basically your basic fantasy grimdark anti-hero. And an anti-hero is basically someone who is the hero but wouldn't do stuff that a normal hero would do. Like he doesn't do all the right things all the time. Sometimes he'll make the hard decision to kill someone or something like that. So what's interesting about Cain, his character, or like basically him, is he has like a self awareness. He isn't just killing people to kill people. He's not treating it as a game. He's very intelligent, and he doesn't like the corporate system. Basically, he like doesn't like that. He has to go up there and kill people. He thinks of himself. In the book, it says like as a high priced gladiator. Um, he's just slaughtering people. Just to make money and just to entertain people. So he hates that. He hates executives. He hates basically the fans that like thrive on his violence. And then he also has like this sort of like self hate on himself for like being good at this certain task. So the author Stover actually has a background in martial arts, and you can see that within his writing. He's very detailed within his like combat. Um, it's not like I would say it's less elegant, more like rough, gritty combat, and you can kind of see that within his book. It's not like very elegant. It's very gritty to the point. And then when he fights, you can tell like he has some experience, and it just feels desperate and very well written throughout that. So, what is the narrative of this book? So Harry, the guy from Earth, is he's just basically trying to age himself out. He's done. He's tired. He's made all the money he can make. He's done going up there. But his wife, who's also an actor, her name is Shayna. Um, Unlike him, she plays like a benevolent character, very nice. Treats the NPCs well, does the good thing, and uses her platform to be like a good person overall. Like not doing all the killing and stuff. Um, the problem is she ends up getting captured by um the villain of the story, which is Maelkoth. Basically, he's like a character who has essentially like become like a sort of god with like his magic and stuff. So, as they would, and as you know, what probably is going to happen, he has to go save her. The studio, loves the idea. This is a great marketing idea. Husband has to go save his wife in the overworld. They love that kind of thing, and so they basically are like, "Oh, yeah, you got to go up there, and you're gonna have to go save your wife." Basically on this like impossible mission, you got to go kill like this godlike being in another world, and save your wife. So the book overall is like, um, I would say very like adrenaline fueled. Um, Cain is completely like out of reach. He doesn't really have a chance, so he has to navigate like this very complex like thing in the overworld. He's not necessarily like there. He has to fight the main villain Malkoth. He's like uses magic. He has to figure out how to fight that, and then he also has to survive his corporate bosses like back on Earth, trying to boost their ratings. So they're messing with them just to like boost his ratings. Um, for me, this is a book that is not necessarily. I wouldn't say it's like an easy read. You have to think a little bit about it. Um, it's a little violent. It's dark. I think it has a very like interesting like critique of like modern audiences. Like, the book itself is like as the reader, you are in some cases the audience in the book that's talking about. You're watching. Even when you read a book, you're watching Sky commit all this violence, and it kind of puts this like question on why do you like violence, stuff like that. And so if you're into like that kind of philosophy, maybe that will be into it. And for me, I just don't think about it like that, but maybe you would. It's kind of a book about free will. Like him as a character, every choice he has is being manipulated by his corporate sponsors, and it kind of thinks about that a little bit. So I mean, this book is a prime example of a book that I really wanted to have found without making this channel. It's a really easy to walk past cover, really basic, something I would never ever pick up. Just looks outdated. Late '90s, basic fantasy, something you wouldn't want to read. But when you look past the cover, the aesthetic, you find like a very sharp and very like original piece that I think you might enjoy. This is a story that respects your intelligence. It doesn't have it doesn't have a lot of tropes. And it has a very like compelling like little niche that it has, and I'm really into that niche personally, like the going to another world. And that's the book for you. Out of this book, I would give it like a 4.5. I really, really, really enjoyed it. But I also, fair warning, I like the niche of going to another world. Like, I love Ready Player One and stuff like that.
This book definitely belongs in Misfit Library.
Thank you for spending some time with me at Misfit Library. This is probably my last video, but if you enjoyed, leave a like. Make sure to subscribe. Leave something in the comments for a book that you'd like me to read, and maybe I might cover one or two more hidden gems. Thanks for watching.